Wat is er nodig voor een natie om op wereldniveau te kunnen domineren? Expert op het gebied van etnische conflicten en globalisering, Chua, ging op zoek naar de antwoorden op deze vraag in haar nieuwste boek Wereldrijk, voor een dag. Hierin vergelijkt ze de kenmerken van 's werelds bekendste hypermachten uit het verleden en het heden.
One of the themes of my thesis is that every hyperpower in history, amazingly, from Genghis Khan to the United States, has faced actually the same fundamental problem, and it's what I call the problem of glue. And by this I mean finding ways to generate cooperation, goodwill, and ideally loyalty among all these people that are conquered and dominated. And most hyperpowers never solve this problem because they basically, as they came to include more and more diverse peoples, there was nothing to hold those empires together, so that they would quickly fragment. Of all of history's hyperpowers, Rome alone really solved this problem. And that's because Rome was able to make conquered populations part of the Roman Empire. So by extending citizenship to, Roman citizenship to Africans and Spaniards and people in Scotland and Gaul, Rome made all these conquered peoples, all over the continents, feel Roman, and they were sort of proud to identify with the Roman Empire. Unfortunately, the United States, as a democratic hyperpower, can do no such thing. I mean, the United States absolutely doesn't want to turn foreign populations into its subjects, or certainly not its citizens. So the U.S. dominates in a really different way. It's through its economic power and these multinationals and through these military bases that are, in 60 countries. So the result is that billions of people around the world, most of them poor, feel dominated by the United States and bullied by the United States, but no connection to the United States, no ties. They don't feel that if America benefits, they benefit. And in fact, that's where a lot of this anti-Americanism comes from. So the Bush era was really a phenomenal mistake from this point of view. Almost everything that was done further destroyed any kind of glue. The unilateralism, we don't need you, kind of an attitude that, we're the biggest military power, we don't need anybody else. I think the current administration is really completely different. Turning to the global landscape today, my thesis actually has some surprising implications. Of course, China is the power that everybody's talking about right now. And there is no question, I think China will continue to grow and expand. It's been doing a lot of things right, pouring money into research and development and education. But if my thesis is right, China cannot become a hyperpower. That is, it can continue to grow. It could even be a superpower, but it cannot replace the United States as a hyperpower. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's because China is the quintessentially ethnically based nation. It is the opposite of an immigrant nation, and it's just not able to pull in the best human capital from all over the world. So even today, with all our problems, you still see many, many brilliant Chinese scientists wanting to leave China to come to the United States to become U.S. citizens, but you don't see, many Americans or Canadians or Europeans wanting to move to China to become Chinese citizens. And until China can pull in the, best thinker from Israel, the best mathematician from Lebanon, the best guy from Jamaica or Ghana, I don't think it can overtake the United States in terms of technological innovation and dynamism. And I think China is actually aware of that. And for this reason, actually, I think that the EU, which is remarkably successful from many points of view, I mean, its GDP now, or at least last year, was about $13 trillion, about the same as the U.S. But for the same reason, because the European nations are fundamentally not immigrant societies. Even the Dutch Republic in its heyday pulled in immigrants from Europe, but not from all over the world. So I think it's tough for the EU to also be in a position to attract the world's best and brightest talent, unless something changes radically. I think there is a real concern that if the United States cannot pull itself out of this economic crisis, then ordinary Americans will suddenly become more isolationist and protectionist and say, we don't want to deal with the rest of the world. Iraq was a big headache. We don't care about solving global poverty. Let's take care of our own problems. Buy American, no more foreign goods, no more immigration. And from the point of view of my thesis, that would be really a bad thing. That would be turning its back on the formula that's made America really great, which is being, a relatively open and tolerant nation. Of course, you can't take all immigrants. That's absurd. But still, being an open nation that, will accept people if they're willing to be Americans and if they get lucky. Land of opportunity.